Your comeback will terrify those who only knew the wounded you. Have you noticed this? The moment you stopped explaining yourself, they called you cold. The moment you stopped rescuing everyone, they said you changed too much. The moment you finally chose yourself, they looked at you like you became the villain. That look in their eyes, it wasn't anger, was it? It was something deeper. Something that made your stomach turn. It was fear. Raw, unmistakable fear. They are terrified because the version of you they controlled, the version they could predict, the version that absorbed their chaos without complaint, is dying right in front of them. And they can feel it. Listen carefully. This is not your imagination. This is not you being paranoid or oversensitive. What you are experiencing right now is a documented psychological phenomenon that one of the most brilliant minds of the 20th century spent decades mapping. Carl Jung called it individuation. Others might call it emotional healing. But what it really is the death of who you had to become and the resurrection of who you actually are. When a wounded person heals, they don't just change behaviors. They reorganize their entire psychic structure. And everyone who built a relationship with your wound suddenly finds themselves facing a stranger. Jung understood this better than almost anyone. He wrote about a process he called psychological rebirth, where the false self collapses and something truer emerges from the rubble. The people around you are not reacting to your coldness. They are reacting to your clarity. And these are not the same thing. Not even close. Think about it. When you were wounded, when you were constantly explaining yourself, constantly apologizing for existing, constantly making yourself smaller so others could feel bigger, you were safe. You were manageable. You fit into the neat little categories they created for you. Your pain was predictable. Your reactions were mapped. Your boundaries were non-existent. And all of this made you controllable. But now something has shifted inside you. Maybe it happened slowly over months. Maybe it happened in a single moment when you woke up and realized you could not carry one more person's emotional chaos. Either way, the shift is real. And the people who benefited from your woundedness can sense it like animals sense an approaching storm. They are watching you stop performing, stop explaining, stop shrinking. And they are terrified because they built their entire relationship with you on a foundation that is now crumbling. Here is what Jung spent years trying to help people understand. The process of becoming whole is not about self-improvement. It is not about fixing what is broken. It is about integrating what was split, about reclaiming the parts of yourself that you buried to survive. Your anger, your boundaries, your clarity, your power to say no, your ability to walk away without guilt. All of these qualities live in what he called the shadow. And contrary to popular belief, the shadow is not just darkness. It is also everything luminous within you that the world could not tolerate. For years, you kept these parts of yourself locked away because the people around you preferred you harmless. They preferred you accommodating. They preferred you wounded. And your psyche, brilliant in its survival instinct, cooperated. It created a version of you that could exist in hostile environments without being destroyed. But that version was never meant to be permanent. It was a temporary shelter, a psychological cocoon. And now the cocoon is breaking open. The person emerging is the one who is always there beneath the performance, beneath the people-pleasing, beneath the constant need to be understood. This is your comeback story. Not the loud, dramatic kind the movies sell you, but the quiet, seismic kind that rearranges everything at the level of the soul. By the end of this journey together, you will understand why your healing triggers such intense reactions in others. You will learn what is actually happening in your psyche during this transformation. You will discover why the loneliness you feel right now is sacred, not punishment. You will receive 4 concrete practices that will anchor you through this resurrection. And you will learn to recognize when people are trying to pull you back into your wound so you can protect the ground you have fought so hard to reclaim. Your comeback is not revenge. It is the quietest revolution your soul has ever staged. And the people who once held power over you will never touch that power again, not because you are fighting them, but because you have finally stopped abandoning yourself to keep them comfortable. Let me show you exactly how this happens. I want to tell you about a woman named Pamela. She is 34 years old. She works as a social worker. And if you asked anyone who knew her, they would describe her the same way. The glue of the family, the one who holds everything together, the person everyone calls when life falls apart. Pamela was always that person, the one who mediated her parents' fights when she was 12, the sister everyone called at 2 in the morning without question, the friend who showed up with groceries and solutions and a shoulder to cry on, the partner who made herself smaller, quieter, less demanding, so her ex could feel bigger and more important. From the outside, Pamela looked like the most generous person you could meet. But here is what no one saw. Pamela could not sleep without replaying every conversation in her head, scanning for what she might have said wrong. She apologized for things that were not her fault. She explained her feelings in exhausting detail so others would not misinterpret her kindness as weakness. She was the most exhausted person in every room, yet everyone told her how strong she was. Strong. That word followed her everywhere, and she hated it. Because it never meant what people thought it meant. It meant she could take more, carry more, absorb more. It meant her breaking point was further away than everyone else's, so they kept piling weight on her shoulders until she could barely stand. This is what trauma recovery looks like before it actually begins. You are functional. You are helpful. You are indispensable. And you are dying inside. Then one Tuesday morning, Pamela woke up and felt something she had never felt before. Nothing. Not sadness. Not anger. Not the familiar knot of anxiety in her chest. Just a profound exhaustion that reached all the way into her bones. Like her body was finally admitting what her mind had been denying for years. I cannot do this anymore. That afternoon, her mother called. Same conversation they had been having for 20 years, complaining about her father. Rehashing old arguments, expecting Pamela to absorb it all, process it, make sense of it, fix it. But this time, Pamela heard herself say words she had never said before. I can't do this right now. And she hung up. She did not yell. She did not cry. She just hung up. First time in 34 years. 2 days later, her sister texted asking if Pamela could cover her rent again. It was the 4th time that year. Pamela read the message and did not respond. She just let it sit there, unanswered. First time ever. The following week, her best friend asked her to help plan another event. Another fundraiser, another birthday party, another elaborate thing that would require hours of Pamela's time and energy. And Pamela said no. Not I'll think about it. Not maybe next time. Just no. No explanation. No apology. Just no. Her ex texted 2 weeks later. I miss you. 3 words that used to send Pamela into spirals of confusion and self-doubt. But this time, she blocked his number. No closure conversation. No final explanation. No carefully worded message about boundaries and healing. She just blocked him. Pamela did not plan any of this. She did not read self-help books that month. She did not start therapy that week. Something in her unconscious just stopped. The wound that had been keeping her performing goodness for 3 decades suddenly refused to perform anymore. This is what the psychoanalysis reveals over and over again. Transformation does not begin with a decision. It begins with an exhaustion so deep that the old patterns simply cannot sustain themselves anymore. But here is where the story gets interesting. Here is where you will recognize yourself. The moment Pamela stopped performing her role, everyone panicked. Her mother called back an hour later, furious. "You are being selfish. I raised you better than this. What happened to you?" Her sister sent a long text about family loyalty and how Pamela used to care about them. "You've changed. You used to be there for us. Now you're just cold." Her best friend stopped inviting her to things. And when Pamela noticed and asked about it, the friend said something that cut deep. "I don't even recognize you anymore." Success must have gone to your head. Her ex sent messages through mutual friends. She was always so understanding. Now she's just bitter and mean. Do you see what is happening here? Every single person in Pamela's life interpreted her boundaries as aggression, her silence as coldness, her self-preservation as betrayal. Why? Because they had built their entire relationship with her around one unspoken contract. Pamela will always absorb what we cannot hold. And now that contract was broken. And they did not know how to relate to her without it. This is the moment in every comeback story where the void opens up, where you realize that the relationships you thought were solid were actually built on your willingness to disappear. Pamela's phone went quiet for the first time in her adult life. Invitations stopped coming. Group chats went silent when she joined. Family gatherings happened without her. And Pamela sat in her apartment night after night, feeling the weight of total stillness. Not the chaos of others, not the noise of expectations, just her own breathing. And at first it felt like death. The silence was so loud, she wanted to run back to the familiar chaos just to escape the emptiness. This is the valley, the in-between space, the place where you are no longer who you were, but not yet who you are becoming. And it is terrifying because every instinct in your body is screaming that you made a mistake, that you should apologize, that you should go back. But then something shifted in Pamela. In that void, in that excruciating silence, she started hearing a voice she had never heard before. Her own. Not the voice that apologized. Not the voice that explained everything 3 times to make sure she was not misunderstood. But a voice that simply knew. Knew what was true. Knew what she wanted. Knew what she would no longer tolerate. And that voice said something that changed everything. They were never afraid of you being cold. They were afraid of you being clear. This is what Jung was pointing to when he described shadow integration. The moment you stop abandoning the parts of yourself that others found inconvenient, you become whole. And wholeness is the most destabilizing force in any relationship built on your fragmentation. Pamela's transformation was not about becoming someone new. It was about remembering who she was before the world taught her that her worth was measured by how much she could carry for others, and the people who only knew her wound could not recognize her without it. If Pamela's story feels like your story, if you've been called cold for finally choosing yourself, leave a heart below. You're not imagining it. This is real, and you're not alone. Now let me take you deeper into what is actually happening inside you when you go through this process. Because understanding the mechanism is what keeps you from going back. Most people think the shadow is our darkness, our anger, our jealousy, our rage, the parts of ourselves we are ashamed of. But Jung discovered something far more disturbing. The shadow is also everything luminous within us that we were forced to bury. Think about what gets buried in people like you. People who were trained from childhood to be the emotional caretakers. Your clarity was too threatening, so you learned to doubt yourself. Your boundaries were too selfish, so you learned to say yes when you meant no. Your anger was too much, so you learned to swallow it until it turned into chronic anxiety. Your intuition was too paranoid, so you learned to ignore the warning signs your body was screaming at you. Your power to say no was too cold. Your ability to walk away was too cruel. Your truth-telling was too harsh. Your discernment was too judgmental. One by one, every quality that made you sovereign, that made you whole, that made you powerful, got labeled as a problem. And you, brilliant and adaptable as you were, buried them to survive. You did not choose this. You buried these parts of yourself because the people around you could only tolerate you when these qualities remained dormant. Your family needed you confused so they did not have to face their own contradictions. Your partners needed you small so they could feel big. Your friends needed you absorbing their chaos so they did not have to process it themselves. And your psyche, which exists primarily to keep you alive, cooperated. It created a wounded identity that could exist in these environments without being destroyed. But here is what most people do not understand. Your wound was not just personal, it was relational. It was structural. An entire ecosystem formed around it. Listen to the unspoken contracts you signed without ever speaking them out loud. I will stay confused so you don't have to face your contradictions. I will stay small so you can feel big. I will absorb your chaos so you don't have to process it. I will doubt myself so you never have to question yourself. I will stay wounded so you can feel like the healer. These contracts were written in silence, enforced through guilt, maintained through emotional manipulation, and everyone benefited from them except you. So what happens when you heal? When you start reclaiming your clarity, your boundaries, your discernment, your power, you do not just break these contracts. You destroy the entire ecosystem. And everyone who depended on that system panics. Not because they are evil, not because they consciously wanted to hurt you, but because their unconscious recognizes something terrifying. If you do not need me to feel superior, who am I? If you do not absorb my chaos, where does it go? If you see through my manipulation, what power do I have? Their anger at your transformation is actually terror. Terror that they will have to face what you are facing themselves. This brings us to the place you are in right now. If your phone is quieter, if invitations stopped coming, if people you loved suddenly seem distant, you are in what gets called the valley of the shadow. And I need you to understand something crucial. This is not punishment. This is initiation. Something is happening inside you that cannot happen any other way. The old identity is dissolving. The structures that once defined your emotional world are collapsing. And in that collapse space is being created for something truer to emerge. Let me walk you through what is actually happening psychologically. In the first few weeks after you start setting boundaries, after you stop explaining yourself, after you begin choosing yourself, you enter the dismantling phase. Old identities feel like they are dying because they are. You question if you made a mistake. You didn't. The silence feels unbearable. It's necessary. You are tempted to reach out and apologize. Don't. Your body will try to convince you that something is wrong. You will wake up in the middle of the night with your heart racing, thinking about all the people you have disappointed. Your stomach will tighten when you see their names on your phone. You will rehearse conversations in your head, explaining yourself, defending your choices, trying to make them understand. This is your nervous system trying to pull you back to what feels familiar, even if familiar meant pain. But here is what you need to know. This discomfort is not evidence that you are doing something wrong. It is evidence that you are doing something different. And your body, which was trained for decades to seek approval and avoid conflict, does not yet trust this new path. Your body remembers every time you were punished for having needs. Every time you were abandoned for setting a boundary. Every time love was withdrawn because you dared to prioritize yourself. So when you start choosing yourself now, your body panics. It thinks you are in danger. It floods you with anxiety to try to get you to return to the familiar pattern of self-abandonment. This is not weakness. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. Keep you safe by keeping you small. But safety and smallness are not the same thing. And your conscious mind now knows what your body is still learning. That true safety comes from honoring yourself, not from contorting yourself into shapes that please others. Then you enter what I call the void phase. This usually lasts a few months. Everything feels empty, but not in a bad way. You start hearing your own thoughts clearly for the first time. Your intuition sharpens dramatically. You notice patterns in people's behavior that you never saw before. You feel like you are becoming someone new. You are. During this phase, you will have moments of profound clarity that almost take your breath away. You will be doing something ordinary, making coffee or driving to work, and suddenly you will see the truth of a relationship you were in 5 years ago. You will understand why certain people always made you feel small. You will recognize manipulation tactics that you previously mistook for love. You will see how many times you abandoned yourself to keep someone else comfortable. These realizations do not come gently. They arrive like earthquakes, and each one shifts the landscape of your inner world permanently. You cannot unsee what you have seen. You cannot unknow what you now know. This is why people cannot go back once they reach this stage. The clarity is too sharp. The truth is too obvious. You will also notice something strange during the void phase. You will start seeing the same patterns everywhere. In movies, in conversations, in the dynamics around you. It is as if your awareness has been turned up to a frequency you could not access before. You will watch someone being manipulated, and you will see it clearly. You will hear someone guilt-tripping another person, and you will recognize it immediately. You will witness someone abandoning themselves, and you will feel it in your bones. This is not judgment. This is discernment. There is a profound difference. Judgment says they are bad for doing this. Discernment says, this behavior is harmful and I will not participate in it. Judgment creates superiority. Discernment creates boundaries. Finally, you reach the anchoring phase. The new center solidifies. You stop missing the old dynamics. Your boundaries become automatic. You feel unshakable in your truth. And the right people start appearing. Not because you went looking for them, but because your energy shifted and you started attracting what matches your frequency. The loneliness you feel is not because you are alone. It is because the structures that once defined your emotional world are dissolving. You are not losing yourself. You are meeting yourself, maybe for the first time. Now let me explain why they call you cold when you are actually just clear. This is pure projection. We cannot see in others what we have not confronted in ourselves. So when someone calls you cold for having boundaries, they are projecting their own discomfort with setting boundaries. When they say you have changed too much, they are revealing their own stagnation. When they accuse you of being selfish, they are confronting their own inability to prioritize themselves. Let me translate what they are really saying. When they say you're cold, what they mean is your warmth is no longer available for me to use. When they say you've changed, what they mean is you're no longer predictable and controllable. When they say you're selfish, what they mean is you're no longer sacrificing yourself for me. When they say you're distant, what they mean is you're no longer absorbing my chaos. When they say you're mean, what they mean is your clarity is exposing my manipulation. When they say they don't recognize you, what they mean is I never actually knew you, only your wound. They do not fear your coldness. They fear your clarity. Because clarity sees through performance. It sees through manipulation. It sees through guilt tripping. It sees through emotional blackmail. And once you see clearly, you cannot be controlled anymore. Here is something else that happens. The people who criticize you the loudest are often the ones who benefited the most from your woundedness. Your mother, who calls you selfish, was the one who trained you to prioritize her feelings over your own. Your friend who says you have changed was the one who only called when she needed something. Your ex, who claims you were better before, was the one who required you to be less so he could be more. Pay attention to who is most upset by your boundaries. They are showing you exactly what they were taking from you. And here is what most people miss. The intensity of their reaction is directly proportional to how much they were depending on your woundedness. Someone who loses their mind because you said no once was never respecting you in the first place. They were using you. And now that the resource they depended on is no longer available, they are panicking. This is not love. This has never been love. Love does not punish you for healing. Love does not guilt you for growing. Love does not demand you stay small to make someone else feel big. What you are experiencing from them is not the loss of love. It is the loss of control, and they are furious about it. This is what's called inner power awakening. It does not come from dominating others. It comes from integrating the parts of yourself you spent years running from. It comes from acknowledging your anger without being ruled by it. It comes from recognizing your wounds without identifying with them. It comes from walking into the depths of your own psyche and returning with a sense of wholeness that cannot be shaken. You become unshakable because you have already faced the deepest earthquakes of your inner world. And here's the paradox. Your comeback is not loud, but it sounds loud in the psyche of those who depended on your silence. Your strength is not aggressive, but it feels threatening to those who benefited from your weakness. Your clarity is not confrontational, but it confronts the illusions of those who preferred the wounded version of you. What they fear is not your transformation. What they fear is the reflection of themselves that your transformation reveals. Your rising shows them where they have not risen. Your healing shows them where they have not healed. Your boundaries show them where they have none. Your confidence shows them where they are insecure. Your authenticity shows them where they are fragmented. Your light shows them the shadows they refuse to face. And because of this, your comeback will be interpreted as an attack, even when it is nothing more than your return to yourself. But you must resist the temptation to shrink yourself to make others feel safe. You did not come this far to betray yourself again. The process of becoming whole does not grant itself lightly. It is earned through years of suffering, introspection, endurance, and silent battles no one witnessed. You are not rising because you want to impress anyone. You are rising because something ancient within you refuses to remain buried. You are rising because the deepest part of your being demands expression. And when that part speaks, it does so with the authority of the entire universe behind it. Your comeback is not about revenge. It is not about proving anything. It is not about becoming powerful in the eyes of others. Your comeback is about reclaiming your life from the forces that once controlled it. And once you reclaim it, no one can take it from you again. Now that you understand what is happening to you, let me give you 4 practices that will anchor you through this resurrection. These are not theories. These are tools that will keep you rooted when everyone around you is trying to pull you back. The first practice is what I call the silence protocol. When someone tries to pull you back into your old self, when they criticize your boundaries, when they guilt trip you, when they demand explanations for why you are choosing differently, now you respond with only 3 words. I hear you. Then silence. No explanations. No justifications. No apologizing for who you are becoming. Why does this work? Because it breaks the old pattern where you over-explained everything to manage other people's emotions. It trains your nervous system to feel safe without needing to be understood by everyone. It removes the emotional labor they are trying to extract from you. And it forces them to sit with their own discomfort instead of using you to regulate their feelings. Here is what to expect. In week 1, they will escalate. What do you mean, I hear you talk to me? Explain yourself. They will call you multiple times. Send long text messages. Show up at your door. Your body will want to cave. You will feel the pull to go back to explaining, to softening your boundary with words, to making them feel better about your choice. This is the moment where most people fail. They mistake the discomfort for evidence that they are being cruel. You are not being cruel. You are being clear. In week 2, they will try guilt. You used to care about me. What happened to you? They will remind you of times you helped them. They will bring up your past closeness. They will make you feel like you are betraying some sacred bond. But what they are really saying is this: you used to manage my emotions for me, and now I have to feel my own feelings, and I don't like it. Do not explain. Just repeat, I hear you. In week 3, they will try fear. You're pushing everyone away. Is this really what you want, to be alone? They will predict your future. Tell you that you will regret this. Paint pictures of isolation and loneliness. They will weaponize your deepest fear that choosing yourself means losing love. But here is the truth. Anyone who makes you choose between yourself and them has already chosen for you. By week 4, they will either adjust to your new boundaries or they will leave. Both outcomes are victories. The ones who adjust prove they were capable of respecting you all along, they just did not have to before. The ones who leave prove they were never in relationship with you, only with what you could provide. The rule is simple. If you explain, you lose. The wounded you explained everything 3 times. The rising you simply exists. When they say you're being cold and distant, you say, I hear you, and nothing more. When they push back with that's all you have to say, you either stay silent or repeat, I hear you. Your silence is not withholding. It is sovereignty. The second practice is the mirror exercise. Every time someone criticizes your transformation, write down exactly what they said. Then ask yourself this question: which part of me is being protected when I refuse to go back to who I was? Their criticism is actually a map. It shows you exactly which boundaries are working. If they say you're too independent now, it means your dependency on their approval is dissolving. If they say you're not the person I knew, it means you are finally becoming the person you actually are. Here is how to do this. Keep a journal and title it Mirrors. Every criticism gets 1 page. Write the criticism at the top. Then write the mirror question. Which part of me is being protected? Then write the honest answer. For example, criticism: you don't care about anyone anymore. Mirror question: what part of me is protected by no longer performing care for people who never cared about me? Answer: my energy, my peace, my time, my self-worth, my ability to choose who deserves my care based on reciprocity, not guilt. Or this one. Criticism: you're so serious now. You never laugh anymore. Mirror question: what part of me is protected by no longer performing joy for others? Answer: my authenticity. I no longer fake happiness to make them comfortable with my depth. I no longer perform lightness to ease their discomfort with real emotion. I laugh when something is genuinely funny, not when someone needs me to. Or this. Criticism: you think you're better than everyone. Mirror question: what part of me is protected by no longer diminishing myself? Answer: my confidence, my clarity, my refusal to shrink so others can feel big. my right to inhabit my full intelligence without apologizing for it, my permission to recognize my own growth without downplaying it to protect other people's egos. Here's another example. Criticism. You've become so harsh and judgmental. Mirror question. What part of me is protected by no longer ignoring red flags to keep the peace? Answer: my discernment, my safety, my ability to name manipulation when I see it, my right to have standards, my wisdom earned through pain that I will not dishonor by pretending I don't see what I see. One more. Criticism. You're not fun anymore. You're always so intense. Mirror question. What part of me is protected by no longer performing superficiality? Answer: my depth, my realness, my refusal to engage in meaningless small talk that drains me, my right to seek substantial connection instead of surface-level entertainment, my honoring of my own energy by choosing quality over quantity in social interactions. Do this for 30 days. At the end, read all your answers together. You will see exactly what you have reclaimed, and you will realize something profound. Every criticism was actually a compliment in disguise. They were naming exactly what you have taken back. The third practice is what I call the void ritual. For 30 days, you will not explain a single decision to anyone who has not earned the right to your inner world. No explaining why you said no. No justifying why you're busy. No defending why you need space. No apologizing for your choices. Instead, you use complete sentences that require no follow-up. I'm not available. That doesn't work for me. I've decided not to. I need space right now. I'm choosing differently. Period. End of sentence. No comma. No because. Let me give you specific examples of how this works in real situations. Someone asks you to do something you don't want to do. Old response: I really wish I could, but I have so much going on right now and I'm just completely overwhelmed and I feel terrible about it. But I just can't take on one more thing. I hope you understand. New response: that doesn't work for me. Someone questions why you are not attending a family event. Old response: it's not that I don't want to be there. I just think I need some time for myself right now, and I've been feeling really stressed and I don't want to bring bad energy to the gathering. So I thought maybe it would be better if I stayed home this time. New response: I'm not attending this year. Someone asks why you have been distant lately. Old response: I'm sorry, I know. I've been weird. I'm just going through some stuff and trying to figure things out, and I didn't mean to pull away. It's not about you. I'm just working on myself. New response: I needed space. Someone tries to guilt you about a boundary. Old response: I know, it seems like I don't care, and I'm sorry if it feels that way. But I really do care. I'm just trying to take care of myself too. And I hope you can understand that I'm not trying to hurt you. New response: I hear your feelings and my decision stands. Do you see the difference? The wounded you used 50 words where 5 would do. The rising you honors your decision by stating it clearly. The wounded you believed you needed to justify your existence. This ritual teaches you that your existence is justified simply by existing. You do not owe anyone access to your reasoning. You do not owe anyone a defense of your choices. You only owe yourself integrity. Here is what will happen. In week 1, you will feel guilty. Your body will want to add because to every sentence, don't. Every time you feel the urge to explain, pause, take a breath. Remember that your no is a complete sentence. Then say only what is necessary and nothing more. In week 2, people will push harder. That's not an answer. You owe me an explanation. After everything I've done for you, I at least deserve to know why. This is manipulation. Do not engage. Simply repeat your boundary or say nothing at all. In week 3, you will start feeling powerful. The guilt dissolves. The silence feels natural. You will notice that your nervous system is calming. You are no longer in a constant state of anxiety about other people's reactions. You are learning that you can handle their disappointment without having to fix it. By week 4, you will realize the people who stayed are the ones who never needed explanations. They respected your no as a complete sentence. They trusted that you had your reasons. They valued your autonomy more than their comfort. These are your people. This ritual rewires your nervous system. After 30 days, you will feel safe in silence. You will trust your own authority. You will know that explaining yourself is optional, not mandatory. The 4th practice is the sovereign declaration. Every morning before you check your phone, before you interact with the world, you read this out loud. I no longer trade my peace for their comfort. I no longer explain what they refuse to understand. I no longer shrink so others can feel big. I no longer carry emotions that are not mine. I no longer perform goodness for those who mistake boundaries for cruelty. I am not cold. I am clear. I have not changed. I have remembered. I am not lost. I am returning. And anyone terrified by my return only knew my wound, never my worth. Why does this work? Because identity is not what you think. It is what you rehearse. For years you rehearsed the wounded identity. I'm too much. I'm too sensitive. I'm the problem. Now you rehearse the sovereign identity. Every morning you remind your psyche who is in charge. Read it out loud, not in your head. Feel each line in your body. Notice which lines make you emotional. Those are the ones you are reclaiming. Do this for 90 days, minimum. After 90 days, these words will no longer be affirmations. They will be your reality. You will walk into rooms with this energy without thinking about it. And people will feel it before you speak a word. These 4 practices are not tips. They are initiations. Each one is a small death of the old self and a small birth of the new. When you practice all 4 simultaneously, you accelerate the transformation that could take years. You are not just healing, you are becoming. 1 year from now, you will walk into a room and something will be different. Not in the room, in you. Your shoulders will be back, not because you are trying, but because you are no longer carrying what is not yours. Your breath will be deeper. You are no longer holding tension to avoid disapproval. Your eyes will be steadier. You are no longer scanning for threats or seeking approval. The people who stayed are those who loved you, not your usefulness. Conversations are reciprocal now. You give, they give, there is flow. No one drains you anymore because you no longer allow energetic vampires in your space. And the right people appeared, not because you searched for them, but because your energy shifted and you started attracting what matches who you actually are. In your decisions, you say no without guilt. You choose yourself without apology. You walk away without looking back. You trust your intuition as your first authority, not your last resort. Inside your psyche, the voice of doubt is quiet. The voice of clarity is loud. You no longer question if you are too much. You know you are exactly enough. You no longer fear being misunderstood. You accept it as inevitable and irrelevant. And here is what happens in the world around you. The people who once called you cold will stop saying it. Not because you warmed up, but because your energy is now too clear, too calm, too full to leave space for their projections. They will not interrupt you anymore because your words carry weight now. They will not dismiss your boundaries because they sense something has shifted that they cannot manipulate. They will not demand explanations because your silence communicates more than words ever did. They will not call you selfish. They will call you inspiring, or they will disappear. Both are victories. And here is the strangest part. They will lower their eyes first. The psychological power has reversed. You did not become mean. You became sovereign. You did not become cold. You became discerning. You did not become cruel. You became clear. And clarity is the most powerful force in any relationship because it cannot be manipulated, guilt-tripped, or controlled. There will come a day when someone who once hurt you will look at you with something you have never seen before. Respect mixed with regret. They will see what they lost. They will see what they could never touch again. They will see the person you became after you stopped letting them define you. Let me paint you a specific picture of this moment, because you need to know it is coming. You will be somewhere ordinary, a grocery store, a coffee shop, walking down the street in your neighborhood, and you will run into someone from your old life. Someone who knew the wounded you. Someone who benefited from your endless accommodation. They will try to start a conversation, and you will feel it immediately. The difference: you are not anxious. You are not preparing your words. You are not trying to appear a certain way. You are just there, fully present, fully yourself. And they will sense it. They will stumble over their words. They will try to find the old dynamic, the old rhythm. But it is not there anymore. You are not performing the role they remember. You are not shrinking to make them comfortable. You are not explaining yourself to fill their silence. You are just standing there, clear, calm, complete. And they will say something like, "You seem really good," or "You're different." And there will be something in their voice, not quite admiration, not quite resentment, something closer to awe mixed with loss. They are seeing you maybe for the first time, and they are realizing they never really knew you before. This is the moment you will understand. Your comeback was not about them. It was never about them. Your comeback is not about them. It never was. It was always about you returning to the truth that existed before the wound, that you were never meant to be small, to be convenient, to be endlessly available, to be the emotional landfill for everyone's unprocessed pain. In every spiritual tradition, there is a story of descent and return. The hero journeys into the underworld and comes back transformed. This is not metaphor. This is the architecture of the human soul. You descended into your wound. You died to your old identity. You faced what terrified you about yourself. You integrated what you had denied. You emerged with wisdom the wound could never touch. Your comeback terrifies those who only knew the wounded you because you are no longer available for the role you once played. You are no longer the supporting character in their narrative. You are no longer the backdrop to their drama. You are no longer the wound they could project onto. You are the whole person they never had to face before. And now you know. You know that when they said you changed, what they meant was you stopped letting me use you. You know that when they said you're cold, what they meant was your warmth is no longer available to people who don't deserve it. You know that when they said they don't recognize you, what they meant was, I never actually knew you, only your wound. You know that your comeback is not about proving anything. It is not about showing them who you have become. It is not about waiting for them to apologize or understand. It is about the quiet revolution happening inside you, the one where you finally choose yourself as many times as you once chose them. You are not the wounded one anymore. You are not the rescuer. You are not the emotional container. You are not the one who stays small so others can feel big. You are the one who rose. You are the one who integrated your shadow. You are the one who reclaimed your power. You are the one who walks into rooms and changes the air. And this version of you, the clear one, the boundaried one, the discerning one, is not temporary. This is not a phase. This is not you going through something. This is you becoming what you were always meant to be before the world taught you to forget. One day you will be sitting somewhere quiet, a cafe, a park bench, your own living room, and you will realize something profound. You will realize that you no longer fear being misunderstood. You no longer need to be seen by those who only knew your darkness. You no longer mourn the relationships that ended when you chose yourself. Instead, you will feel something you have not felt in years, maybe ever. You will feel proud, not arrogant, not superior. Just quietly, deeply proud of the person you fought to become. Proud that you did not stay in the wound to keep others comfortable. Proud that you did not shrink when they asked you to. Proud that you rose even when rising meant rising alone. Your comeback was never loud. It was never aggressive. It was never vengeful. It was the quietest revolution your psyche has ever staged. And the day you fully embody it, the people who once terrified you with their judgment, their criticism, their disappointment, will lower their eyes first. Because they are no longer looking at the wounded you. They are looking at the sovereign you. And sovereignty cannot be shaken, cannot be manipulated, cannot be dimmed. Your comeback terrifies them because it reminds them of everything they buried in themselves. And you are finally free. If you are in this void right now, if you stopped explaining yourself and suddenly everyone calls you cold, if you set a boundary and people say you changed too much, if you finally chose yourself and the world looked at you like you're the villain, leave a heart in the comments below. You are not alone. We are not just healing. We are rising. And we are rising together. If this resonated with you, if you felt seen, if you felt understood, if you had that, yes, this is exactly what I'm going through moment, subscribe to this channel. Because I create content specifically for people like us. People who are healing from relationships that diminish them. People who are learning to trust their intuition again. People who are discovering that their sensitivity was never a flaw, but their greatest power. And if you want to go even deeper into the psychology of transformation, I have an entire series on shadow work, on the process of becoming whole, on how deeply feeling people can reclaim their power without losing their empathy. The links are in the description. Until next time, remember this. Your comeback is not revenge. It is remembering. You are not becoming someone new. You are returning to who you were before the world taught you to be small. And that version of you was always sovereign, always whole, always enough. You just forgot. But now you remember. Welcome home.